Hello and welcome to another episode from History, Myths and Legends. This one will be about the Jerónimos Monastery, though I will not speak of its most known and rather famous features, for you can learn of them in many places and by visiting the site itself, as nearly 1 million do each year. I will focus in what is not part of any tour, nor it requires a ticket to be seen. In fact, the features presented in this video are not noticed by most, though they are in plain sight. There are a few studies and papers, some older, some recent, that speak of this monastery, but in none of them the object of this presentation is featured or explained. In face of the magnificence of its main attractions, these windows and their symbolism must have been but a trifle to those that studied and visited the site. So we start in a corner of the monastery, far from the main entrance to the site, where long lines of people wait to go inside. I have looked for each one of the symbols here shown, though I failed to find a match for many of them. It is important to mention that all of these windows are within a circle, and that alone relates them to a solar symbolism uniting or controlling all of them. Keep this in mind throughout the video. I deem that each one of the windows represents a party that was somehow involved in the edification of this monument. There are 42 in total, but I have no access to 4 of them. Of those I have, 35 have a circular symbol, 1 is completely unadorned, and 2 are richly carved in exquisite craftsmanship. The first window. Like many others in this building, it is very difficult to pinpoint its exact meaning. It combines the weaved rope with the star-like symbol, but in a square shape. The rope is depicted without having a loose end, thus meaning infinite and bonding. The second one is also a hard riddle to crack. It resembles a 4-sided Tau cross. So out of pure speculation, it could mean a 4 times 300. Connection to Egypt, or even point to a pagan connection, since the symbol is older than Christianity. The third window has at its center a curious depiction that, although it might be a fairly common element in this type of building, here alone reminds me of Sumerian Babylonic art, where I am sure I have seen them shown. The main motif is a very discreet fleur-de-lis variation of a lily cross. From antiquity, it has been the symbol of purity and was readily adopted by the Roman Catholic Church to associate the sanctity of Mary with elements of special significance. It is supposed to have sprung from the tears shed by Eve as she left Eden. A later legend places it in France as the lily given at his baptism to Clovis, King of the Franks, by the Virgin Mary herself, thus becoming a symbol of that country. The fourth symbol is one of those I found a close enough image, but very little about it beyond the fact that it's called a ball or mace cross, that, as always, is contained under the power of the sun, ergo the top echelon in power. But above each of its 4 maces there are other symbols, this time of what I interpreted as water or fire. The fifth window has a cross cercelé that is like an exaggerated cross moline and, to a lesser extent, like the anchored cross with its forked tips curving around both ways, like a ram horns. The form is also known as a recercelé or ancré. The sixth window is very interesting. Although I have been hinting for some time now about the Indian inspiration embedded in the architecture of this structure, most people will look at it and see a Star of David. But this image is not a star, but 2 opposite triangles. It's called a Shiva Yantra. It represents the divine energies of Supreme Lord Shiva. This is considered as one of the most desirable yantras, as its mere presence is auspicious and brings numerous benefits. In case I am wrong, It might also be an alchemical symbol combining two elements, air and earth. This because of the crossing lines within them. Otherwise, they would represent fire and water. The seventh symbol is one of those I could not find any similar symbol in any of my database or online. The only thing I can say about it is that, like the one in the third window, has that same 3D representation of the ornament in the bracelets we see on the wrists of gods in summer. As for the eighth window, it might be a combination of the Celtic cross and sun sign, relating to the centuries of association of Christianity with the Celtic cult, here placed at the center, and a Maltese cross, making it a curious combination. On the ninth symbol, we find a depiction that I cannot say much about. It's a squared star with a curious cylindrical X at its center, all within the common to all circle. The 10th window is just as difficult as the one that precedes it. Though this time, in the absence of data, I can at least speculate that it relates to the helm of the ships that getting to India provided the funds and the reason behind its construction. The center circle may represent the capability to circumnavigate the world. On the 11th window, we can see another Celtic representation. Exactly the same we have seen on the first window, but this time with a different relief on the background that creates the illusion of a circular image while the other one was square. This is the last one of the windows facing east. The 12th window has another tau cross, although in a completely different representation of the same concept. Within it, another cross is embedded among its four arms. It is the first of two facing north. Now we reach the 13th window, the second and last to face north, and the three among the 37 that do not have a symbol. It is the only one that is not visible, placed in a section of the wall. It presents a completely blank canvas. I think it the most important window here, and see it as the hidden window. The only one recessed into the building, the only one with no visibility from outside but by standing in front of it. On the central column, we find an interesting motif, a unifying cord with spikes, as the one that rules with iron hand, but know only to a few. From the two outside columns, we have the same spiked cord, but this time veiled by a revolving ribbon. Above it, we find a unique feature among the windows. This one has two calf heads, one on each side above the window. Now moving into the south-facing side of the building, the 14th window is also one of the three without a symbol, being in the same line as the unadorned window, but this time richly carved and decorated. It is indeed a work of art, as you can see. It has a golden tone to its top arch. If I was to guess, the 13th window is symbolic of the hidden ones in real power, and the two richly decorated, of what this is the first one here, are symbolic of the power, knowledge, and money required to create this building. It contains depictions of animals and flora, maritime motifs, and encoded language. Even the base of the columns look they are holding some form of language that today, 500 years later, only a few will know or understand. The 15th symbol and the first west to east on the south side is also one I could not find anything about. There are various elements included, and to me, it somewhat resembles a blend of symbolism between India and Celtic culture. On the other hand, the 16th window was easy to identify, since it has a classic representation of a lily cross, of what I have already spoke in window number 3, though, as mentioned, here presenting itself in its purest form. In 17th place, we have a clear representation of the cross of St. James, also called the Santiago cross or the Cruz Espada. It combines a cross fici, meaning the lower limb is pointed, as if to be driven into the ground. with either a cross fleury, as in this case, since the arms end in a fleur-de-lis, or a cross moline if the ends of the arms are forked and rounded. This was the emblem of the 12th century Spanish military order of Santiago and Portuguese military order of St. James of the Sword, both named after St. James the Greater. But the cross is piercing the square where the non-pierced sides have another fleur-de-lis that I imagine to represent 3 crowns or kingdoms. The 18th window. Here we can see a seal with the image of Diogo de Boitaca, a French architect whose original name was Jacques Boitac. He was the mind behind the original drawings of this monument, directing them from 1502 to 1516, and then the final phases of construction were slightly changed by his collaborator João de Castilho. Both are considered as the best among their craft. So we can say with relative confidence that this serves as a clear homage to the architect. The many arches revolving around his image may represent the many areas of knowledge used for its edification, converging into its designer and builder. Now at the 19th window, we find a beautiful symbol marked by a central omphalos-like motif, or a representation of the world supported by the 4 pillars of the earth. But I can only speculate. I have not much to say about this one, nor about the next one. The 20th symbol is, as I said before, another one I know nothing about, though I would place it as a Celtic image. On the 21st window, we can see a large bird of prey that to me resembles a Roman Empire type of eagle, and it might represent the papal power of Rome, that, at this time, were asked to authorize, bless these types of edifications, perhaps the acknowledgement of its authority in the 21st window, to the house of the Trinity, so 2 + 1 = 3, like the 13th window was the one dedicated to the hidden ones. The 22nd symbol is very difficult to identify, and all I can say is that apart from the maritime theme suggested by the rope that encircles the 8 figures, that to me may be Indian stupas in a simplified form. At the 23rd window, we find a heraldic shield where I can identify the Portuguese coat d'arms, where the 5 inner shields represent the 5 Moorish kings defeated by Afonso Henriques, and outside the 7 castles that he took from them. Each point within the shields is reminiscent of the 5 wounds of Christ. On the right side, the Sacred Heart is atop a pedestal, and this one has no signs of the usual representation of it being pierced, presumably by a lance, encircled by a crown of thorns, surmounted by a cross, and bleeding. On this one, all we can see is the sacred flame burning strong above it. On the top of it all, the oversized crown ends the image, though all of this still remains under the power of the circle, the sun god. Contrary to the helm-like symbol we saw on the 10th window, the one on the 24th is without doubt a sheep helm, this time encircled by a rope-like motif that I also deem related to the finding, or better said, rediscovery of the sea route into the Indian Ocean. The 25th window has a symbol that I perceive as Celtic, though there is not much more that I can say. The next one is quite intriguing to me, for I cannot but see its resemblance with many similar depictions found in pre-Spanish South American art, as in rock carvings and in codexes. Let me know if you agree with me. The 27th symbol is easier to crack, for it has the Order of Christ cross within a 2D representation of a 3D armillary sphere. The cross was used since the 14th century and occupied the center of the sails of the Portuguese ships. Bordered by red, they could be seen from afar amidst the whiteness of the hemp sails. The armillary sphere represents the conquest of the world, the knowledge of the routes around the planet. The 29th window is damaged, but even if complete, I would not be able to say anything about it, nor could I find anything on its meaning. There are 24 dimples on the circle. I wonder if the shapes have anything to do with the triangular sails used by the Portuguese, and here placed in the four sides of the stylized square, perhaps indicating how they reach the four corners of the globe. The 30th symbol is rather cryptic, and it seems to be related to the ocean. The rope circle indicates it. And the forms inside makes me think of the mythological sea monsters the sailors had to overcome to reach their destiny across the vastness of the waters. Again, on the following window, I am not sure on how to interpret it, so I will only say that it does seem that its inspiration came either from Indian religious art or a reverse image of an old Coptic symbol from Ethiopia. There are 16 oval shapes within the outer circle. The 32nd is again hard to define, so I can only speak for myself, as I see 8 Indian temples or stupas, the same concept of window 22, but in a different fashion. Once more, I do not have any data on this one, but if I had to guess, I would propose that 4 groups, houses, or individuals were at the center of many different contributors that made the design and built the site. The 34th is a complex depiction of the fleur-de-lis, different from the others we have seen so far, and it has a blossom plant at its center. On the 35th window, yet another depiction of a tau cross. The 36th symbol is another using the fleur-de-lis motif, though in a different fashion to others in this building. I have explained its meaning and origin on the 3rd window. This one is marked by a circle from which the 4 plants emerge. This connects the upper circle with the inner circle. The 37th window has again the unmistakable rope circle, pointing out to the sea, and 2 crossed anchors, once more remembering the ships and those that explore the world aboard them. This is the last window on the south side to have a circular symbol. The last window, the 38th of this video, is the second and last of the richly adorned and carved. Like the 14th window on this video, it contains so much symbolic language that more than one level of interpretation is possible. Again, the upper arch seems to have a golden glow to it. The main theme here is shells of various types and shapes, all of them closely linked with pilgrimage and ritual passage. We are now next to the long queue of people waiting to go inside the main church, where I was baptized nearly 5 decades ago. There are many other marvels to be seen on this monument, especially on the inside, though this portal is one of the finest in the world, both in complexity as in craftsmanship. Even the gargoyles are exquisite and full of significance. I thank you all for watching this long. Until our next meeting.